and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Tom Yunt. I'm with Energy Solutions, and I'm the chairman of the board for the STEM Foundation. And I'd like to start this evening by recognizing our special guest from out of town. So we have Clarence Dancer, representing the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction. If you could stand until we get through the list, and then we'll do an acknowledgement at the end. Lee Lambert and Alex Johnson from Washington STEM. Ben Rorick, Christina Mayer, and our own Jeff Estes, representing the Washington State Board of Education. Melissa Edwards and Seth Margulis with the Museum of Flight. Back there. And then, of course, we can't forget our State Senator, Sharon Brown. Please stand. Thank you. And a couple others. I just have to say that tonight would not be possible if it wasn't for the efforts of our executive director, Deb Bowen, and her helper, Connie Hatchie. Is Deb stand up, and Connie, please stand up. And can we give all these people a round of applause? Thank you. It's just the way it's going to be, I think. And Rich Cummins, I want to thank you again for hosting us here at CBC. You know, I got to say I was real close to wearing a blue tie. In honor of that, I usually don't get out of the house with nothing less than a maroon, red, or crimson tie, being a WSU Cougar. Of course, my 15-year-old daughter said the next best thing would be gray, and crimson and gray, so here I am. But CBC blue was a close third, Rich, all due respect. So we're delighted to have you here with us to mark an unprecedented milestone in our community's history. And for those that don't know it, groundbreaking for the new Delta High School, a national model for innovation in STEM education is going to occur this summer. Next month, we're going to break ground for our permanent home of Delta High near Road 100 in Pasco. This event is a culmination of 8 years and thousands of hours of community collaboration, unstoppable will, and determination. And we truly have created a STEM synergy in our region unmatched by any other. So yes, we have much to celebrate tonight, yet there's still much work to be done. And to illustrate that, did you guys know that the Washington State ranks #1 in concentration of STEM jobs? And that sounds great. Yet the mismatch between the skills required for available jobs and individuals, those skills, is growing faster here than in every other state except Delaware. And in less than 5 years, we'll see a 24% increase in demand for STEM jobs in our state, 7 points above the national average. And that's truly amazing. And in fact, in the next 3 years, it is predicted that 45,000 STEM jobs will go unfilled in this state alone. And unfortunately, out of every 100 of today's 9th graders, only 6 will graduate with a STEM degree. We can and we must do better than that. These are just a few reasons why the foundation, we are so passionate about our mission. And our mission is to create a substantial and sustainable impact on the quality of science, technology, engineering, and math education here in the Mid-Columbia. And with a great mix of new faces and old friends in the crowd tonight, we thought it'd be fitting to take a few moments and look back on an amazing journey of the Delta Project. And with us tonight to share this information is a good friend and a fellow STEM advocate, Mike Cluse, Director of Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. Mike?
Well, good evening, everyone. You know, before I get started, I think we ought to recognize the great work and the leadership of Tom and the whole STEM Foundation here in the community, because they're the ones that really are assuring the sustainability of the Delta High School. And without their effort, you know, none of this would be possible. So Tom, thank you. Thank your entire team. Phil Ohl, who has preceded Tom, you guys have done a marvelous job, and I think we owe you a round of applause for all you've done. So it's really great for me to be here with you tonight as we celebrate STEM education and Delta High School. You know, the Delta story is one of courage, it's one of collaboration, it's one of creativity, it's one of integrity, it's one of impact. Values that we at P&L champion, admire, and try to live every day. So more than 7 years ago, the school's founders had the courage to envision a small, highly personalized high school that would attract a broad spectrum of students who would be immersed in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM, experiences throughout the curriculum. And thanks to the collective will and the hard work of so many members within our community, including many of you who are here with us in the room tonight, and the dedication and the passion of the teachers, the mentors, and the students, this vision truly has become a reality. So I'd like to share with you a little bit about the history of Delta High School. As some of you will recall, it was the summer of 2006 when Battelle, through Len Peters, who was the director of the laboratory before me, approached the leaders of the Kennewick, Pasco, and Richland school districts to discuss the possibility of a project that would create a high school focused on STEM and modeled after a similar effort, the Metro School, which was in Columbus, Ohio, and Battelle had worked in a partnership with the Ohio State University to launch it. And so I got to tell you all, Len truly is the father of this concept, and I want to be sure we all remember that. I got involved in January of 2007 after Len had stepped down as the director, and then I became totally immersed in the effort. But then that September, the group agreed to explore the feasibility of launching such a project. And, you know, we shared a common vision to create a school that was focused on connecting academic learning to the world beyond the classroom, a school that was characterized by hands-on, collaborative, and cross-disciplinary learning experiences, a school that was focused on developing creativity and critical thinking among the students, and finally, a school that prepared students for success in post-secondary education, careers, and in citizenship. So in August of 2007, Battelle, WSU Tri-Cities, and the 3 school districts made a formal proposal in agreement to create such a school. So a core planning team comprised of educators, of scientists, engineers, community members, and higher education professionals was formed to create a unique program of study that not only connected STEM lessons, but intentionally integrated them with other vital subjects such as English and social studies. And committees were developed to research and analyze funding viability, look at and evaluate facility options, and a variety of community partnerships that were necessary to make the school a reality. Now, Columbia Basin College joined the project in the fall of 2008. I can, to this day, distinctly remember Rich Cummings and I having a coffee at Starbucks on 395, and at that time, CBC wasn't engaged. Certainly, Rich was very interested in watching, and he said to me, "You know, Mike, I don't know where you are with the facility, but you know, I've got this property over in Richland. It's on the market, and if it will help, we'll make it available." And at that point in time, we were looking at a number of other strategies. For a variety of reasons, they didn't pan out. And I remember Rich's conversation, and I think Sandra Hill, the superintendent of Pasco School District, called Rich back up and said, "Rich, that offer still stand?" And it did. And Rich was kind enough to offer their former Richland campus, where Delta is today, on a nearly rent-free basis to serve as the initial location of the Delta High School. So also in 2008, Battelle and P&L helped catalyze a community effort that led to the formation of the Washington State STEM Education Foundation, the entity that Tom heads now and Phil Ohl prior to him, which is a nonprofit organization that was designed to support the school and STEM efforts throughout the Mid-Columbia region. And then the Paul G. Allen Family Foundation and Battelle provided grants that were in fact managed by the STEM Foundation to assist in the development of the curriculum. And then subsequent to that, the state of Washington provided $800,000, which was augmented by many local businesses, organizations, and individuals who provided money, materials, and time, estimated at over $700,000 to renovate the Richland campus because we had to do a number of upgrades in order to teach minors in that particular facility. And Gisa Credit Union was generous enough to offer the foundation office space at no rent. Then in 2009, the 3 local school boards approved the opening of Delta for the fall of 2009. And I can distinctly remember that was one of 2 meetings where we got all three school boards together. I think a first, I was told, in the history of the Tri-Cities. But based on the overwhelming support from the community, Battelle announced its intention to provide up to $1.2 million to support the GAP funding, as well as dedicated staff to support the Delta operations. And so certainly on behalf of Battelle and P&L, I'm really proud of our ongoing commitment to this community and to the investment in Delta High School. And then beyond our initial $1.2 million investment and thousands of volunteer hours, through additional in-kind contributions of paid staff as well as equipment and other materials, we believe that our total investment at the end of this fiscal year will exceed $4 million. So we're highly committed to what's been happening here at Delta High School. Thank you. So I think we all know that the STEM is important in today's science and technology-rich world, particularly here in the Tri-Cities, where STEM workforce, in fact, is integral to our economy. We proudly support the education of the next generation of scientists and engineers, and we know that STEM is helping to prepare students for good-paying jobs, to be smart consumers, and be part of a solution in solving the enduring challenges that we face as a nation. This nation needs these skills, and this nation needs these students. So at P&L, we take our commitment to education and our community as seriously as we do our commitment to conducting innovative research. And like the Delta graduates who learned to value collaboration and cross-disciplinary skills, we know that we can't solve these challenges on our own. So we're proud to be partners with all of you in supporting STEM and Delta as we close the gap between education and business needs. So the result of our collective efforts is a school that not only helps prepare the next generation of scientists and engineers, but helps all students to be better prepared for the challenges of the 21st century. So like so many of you, the staff at P&L rolled up their sleeves, working with the Delta students, working with the Delta teachers. In addition to many volunteers, we have a group of staff at P&L that are dedicated to the success of STEM. So the integrity of this effort has inspired many others to get engaged and give their time, to give their talents, and to give their treasures to the project. Businesses and organizations have encouraged and they've enabled the participation of their employees. We thank you for that. We've all learned more than we ever imagined we would. It's really been an honor to be part of the Delta team from planning through first graduation. I told a number of folks that along the way, Sandra and I were talking, this project died 1,000 deaths. We never thought we'd be at this point in time. And it's just so gratifying to me to see our idea become reality and to see the impact that it's had here in our community. So I invite all of you to remain engaged and encourage others to get involved. This is really making a difference in our community and will for years to come. And so now I'd like to share a 5-minute video about Delta that was written by Kathy Balcom and produced by Lockheed Martin. Thank you all.
Once upon a time, in the 21st century,
there was a great demand for innovation and technical competence.
Science, technology,
engineering, and mathematics.
STEM education.
A highly personalized high school
For students of all academic levels
and interests,
who will make a difference.
The Delta difference.
The Delta difference happening at Delta High School in Tri-Cities, Washington.
Why is that important? Yes.
Today, the future is linked to greater demands for innovation and technical competence. As a result, the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM, are increasingly important. To be prepared in a highly competitive, ever-changing world, the 21st century workforce must be proficient in these STEM disciplines. And there's no place more in need of these skills than the Tri-Cities.
This is a very clear message to employers and employees that this is a good community to be in. We are investing in our future.
The STEM program of study at Delta High School was designed by teachers, scientists, university professors, and business leaders.
Scientists who have this passion for getting kids excited about science and mathematics have been integral to the development of that curriculum, working with those teachers.
What we can do as leaders in our community today to provide every child with that opportunity to be successful, to fulfill a dream of theirs.
Students are taught an integrated curriculum where one problem is explored from every angle.
In fact, what they learn in science, they work on in math, they write about it in language arts, they're learning history of it.
That is a huge positive because it really does help. In math, you see the graphs that are being created by the equation that you do, but in science, you actually see what's happening and how everything is happening in real life.
They want to do well. And you can do a lot with a student and for a student who has made the determination that they want to do well.
And unfortunately, over the past number of years, a lot of our students have gotten away from science, technology, and math because they feel it's complicated or it's something that they have difficulty understanding. Delta High School addresses that by putting them in a unique environment with really top-notch teachers where they can really learn the fundamental and underpinning of the science, technology, and math. And in particular, they can learn the scientific method, which is really to challenge and to question what you hear.
But I like the challenge, and I'm ready for it, and I love challenges. That's also something about Delta.
Delta students are significantly outperforming other Washington state and local students in every category, especially math and science.
Our goal is really not just to teach students academics, but really to help them to grow into the human beings that they're capable of being. And education is really a calling, and I'm proud to work with the people at Delta High School because for them it's also a calling to not just turn out students that can crank through a math problem, but students who are good citizens and good stewards of our community.
Our future, our kids' futures, the future of our local economy can't wait. Delta High School represents a chance for us to make an indelible mark in this community, to leave a lasting legacy of our children's educational success, our community's economic development, and a sustained high quality of life for all of our citizens. It is our opportunity and our obligation.
Well, clearly there aren't words to explain how passionate I am about these kids and helping them do what they want to do with their lives and be who they want to be and empower them for the rest of their lives.
We can all take great pride in the collaborative community effort that resulted in Delta High becoming a reality for our region. And thanks to our ability to come together in a shared vision, we now have a national model for excellence in innovation and high-impact STEM education right here in the Mid-Columbia. We have a lot to be thankful for.
Think about the most powerful learning experience you've ever had. Now think about that happening day in and day out in the school you attend. That's what Delta High School does. It connects kids, teachers, and the community in ways that bring the world alive, make STEM come alive, connect all of their learning, and make it be a place people want to go and spend their time.
Well, thank you, Mike, for that terrific history of Delta High School and all that we've done over the last 8 years. That's astounding to me that it's been 8 years. And thank you, Lockheed, for sponsoring that video that really does a very nice job of articulating what Delta is all about. My name is Phil Ohl. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Curion, Inc., and I'm the founding president of the Washington State STEM Education Foundation and the chair of the Delta High School Capital Campaign. Through these experiences, I've really come to appreciate all that we are to fully realize the potential in the Mid-Columbia to really become the undisputed leader in STEM education nationally. We're well on our way to becoming a community recognized as national leaders in STEM literacy, the way we're doing things at Delta High School. And all of us working together can ensure that our schools, all of our schools, elementary through university, are a national model for business and community involvement in innovative STEM learning. You know, when we sat down to do a list of all the people that we wanted to thank for bringing us to this particular point in our journey of being ready to break ground for Delta High School, the list started growing and growing and becoming very large. So rather than invite people up to the stage to be thanked, we wanted to ask people to stand where they are. And I'd like to ask you all to hold your applause while people remain standing as we thank those who have contributed to the Delta High School, those who have contributed to the operating campaign that have kept the foundation going through all these years, and everybody who's volunteered. The very first organization I'd like to thank is Peggy Michaela and Foundation board member Gene Dunkirk from the team at Battelle. So I could ask the Battelle table to stand and be recognized. And please hold your applause because we've got many more that have been terrific. But Battelle donated $250,000 to the capital campaign for Delta High School. The next organization we'd like to thank is Wyatt Clark and Tom Yunt, who's our board member from the Washington River Protection Solutions and Energy Solutions organizations. If this table would please stand up. This organization, and Jerry Holloway, come on. This organization pledged $100,000 to the capital campaign and delivered $150,000 to the capital campaign. I'd also like to recognize Principal Jenny Rodriquez and the talented Delta High School staff. Where's the Delta staff sitting? If you can all stand up, we'd like to recognize you. And the STEM Foundation board members, the board of directors, including our 3 superintendents, so I think the board members are all sprinkled throughout the audience. If you would please stand. I'd like to ask all the members of the Delta Capital Campaign Committee and those who worked on the capital campaign to please stand and be noticed. And next, I'd like to thank some of the first dollars into this whole grand endeavor, like George and Carol Garlick, and Bill Lamson and Kathy Balcom, and the representatives from Catholic Medical Center, and the Braaten family, and the Yakima Federal Savings, and Permafix, and Baker Boyer Bank, and all the others who have given generously to the various capital and operational campaigns. Next, I'd like to ask folks if your name is maybe Jim Bixler or anybody else who has volunteered at Delta or been to Delta High School, everybody who's contributed. The idea is for everybody to be standing by this point. Come on. And I certainly don't want to forget the Battelle table that has given, as Mike said, over the years, over $4 million and countless hours that have made all this happen. So thank you, everybody, for all your help. So next, I'm very pleased to introduce the current principal of Delta High School, Jenny Rodriquez, to talk a little bit about what is happening today.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you everyone for being here. We're always overwhelmed by the support that we receive at Delta High School. It means so much to the staff. It means a lot to our students. I'd really like to take this opportunity to thank each of you individually for the role that you have played in making Delta High possible, but especially for the time, the energy, and the financial investments that you've made on behalf of our kids. Tonight, we are pleased to share a snapshot of some of our mentoring opportunities at Delta High School. We have a number of volunteer options for you, all of which support our goal of helping students to become ready for college, for career, and for citizenship. From a 1-hour career presentation to hosting field trips, job shadows, or even workplace internships, we have an opportunity for you, your colleagues, and the employees in your organization. Your gift of time and expertise makes an indelible difference in students' lives, and I'd like to share a few brief examples of how your investment pays off. Each fall, our 9th grade girls participate in GLAM, Girls Learning About Manufacturing, a wonderful hands-on event held right here in the Jurdy Center. It's made possible through a strong partnership between Columbia Basin College and Trenidad, and it provides an opportunity for our girls to explore some non-traditional careers. This year during that event, our 9th grade boys participated in our first annual Nuke Tech Day. Delta partnered with Energy Northwest, Arriva, CBC's nuclear technology program, and Battelle to provide a series of hands-on learning experiences designed to not just engage students, but really broaden their horizons with respect to future job opportunities, many of which are right here in our community. The following is a quick look at their experience.
It's so beneficial to us to have companies like Battelle help with these programs for our students. It introduces them to experts in the field, to professionals in our own community, and really opens their eyes to a lot of opportunities that are right here in their backyard. STEM is so important for this generation of students. There's a real shortage in the STEM fields, and we're trying to find careers that these kids will be able to be successful in.
You learn different skills in STEM with math and science and engineering that you don't get taught in different schools.
Most of our students have no idea of the vast employment and economic opportunities that exist here in the Tri-Cities, and we really want to provide those opportunities so they can go and get educated and come back and work right here in the Tri-Cities.
I was hoping to be an engineer, so I was hoping that might help me out with getting my career in there.
I just would like to say thank you. Thank you for being a part of this opportunity for our students. It means a lot to them, and we really appreciate your involvement.
One of our greatest needs at Delta, and a place where many of you can create an impact for our students, is workplace internship placements. Delta seniors are offered an opportunity to work in an industry related to their future career path. Internship placements can range from 12 to 36 weeks to meet not just the needs of our students, but the needs of our businesses. Tonight, I'd like to share a short video that gives you a look at why internships are so valuable to our students.
My name is Austin LeClaire. I'm an intern here at P&L. I'm a high school student at Delta High School, 17 and still going. But starting out at Delta is different than going to any other high school, probably anywhere, because when you start a new high school, when we started one, we didn't have any upperclassmen, so we didn't really have anyone that set the bar. So we just kind of kept going and going, and it was really easy to get to know everyone. Everyone you knew there was like your family. During National History Day, during like sophomore and junior year, created a project based around the Grand Coulee Dam and the history behind it, and how it was a significant impact on the Tri-Cities. More effort. My senior project is about making nuclear power friendly again, I guess is the way I could put it. Considering I've lived less than like 20 miles from a nuclear reactor since I've been born, I'd say it's pretty safe, and I've turned out all right. Well, my mentor is Randy Norheim, and he's a pretty cool guy.
It's my pleasure to host some interns from Delta High and others, young people that are excited about electronics, having them come here and help me build these things so that we can get this done for the scientists that are doing some cool research here at the lab. When I was in high school, I would have loved this opportunity because I was so excited about electronics. I went to a summer school class actually in computer science. You know, they had computers there, and it was just amazed me, and I'm like, I got to figure this out. What makes these things work? And so I sort of made it my own personal mission to figure out what made computers work, and I was excited about it. So it's really a lot of fun to see these young people doing the same thing and having this opportunity. It's so awesome.
On creating a PCB board, and I put the components on it, and basically it will go into a box which we call the gold box, and it will help run the process system for an ion mass spectrometer, which measures molecules, proteins, and I guess the difference between Delta and other schools is it makes you think harder. It doesn't let you slack off. I want to be a nuclear engineer because around here in the Tri-Cities, we're known for nuclear power because of Hanford and all the people that work there. I plan on going to college right after high school. I plan on going somewhere in the eastern coast area. I'd call myself a very determined person. I've been taught from a very young age that I need to take my life in my own hands. I plan to be the first in my family to get a bachelor's degree. I plan to strive ahead and break out of the cycle. They say that you can't break out of the cycle of your family. If your family's poor, they're going to usually end up poor, and I'm not a firm believer in that. I believe that if I put my will to it, I can make myself what I want to be.
I'm so grateful to have this opportunity on behalf of Charter. I'd like to acknowledge Dinah on the camera, Nick and Lloyd Swain. We are so appreciative at Charter Communications to get to be part of this. And I have a lovely panel here joining me now. We have Rich Cummins, who is the president of Columbia Basin College, and he has served for so long and helped so many people here. We thank you for coming and joining us. And then I've just had the pleasure of meeting Ben Rarick, and he has come all the way from Olympia to join us. He's the executive director of the Washington State Board of Education, and he's making a great effort to get out and know people in the state and to serve the educational needs. And then we have Sandra Hill. She's our Pasco superintendent who's worked tirelessly to help all of our children for many years. And at the end, we have Dave Rosito. He is the COO of Mission Support Alliance. For those of you that might not be familiar with Hanford, it's a Department of Energy nuclear cleanup site, and Dave has a large chunk of the population out there with Mission Support Alliance. That site can have up to 12,000 people at any given time, and Dave works diligently to serve people in many capacities there. And he's also the STEM Education Foundation Board Vice President. So thank you to all of our panelists for joining us. Now we'll just be beginning with Rich and moving on down the line. Rich, you've always been excited about this. I know you like to receive the students coming into your college from the various high schools. And why are you so focused on preparing the young people to really be STEM literate? Why is that important at the college level?
I don't think I could answer any more eloquently than the picture of those young people in that video talking about STEM education. When you look at the employment projections for the next 30 years in the Tri-Cities, but nationally, you see that that STEM literacy is absolutely an essential. And Delta High School and other efforts that we have in the Tri-Cities to educate young people is to prepare them for the best possible future. The best possible future for the Tri-Cities, we decided a long time ago at Columbia Basin College in our strategic planning, is to move the entire community in the ways that we can with our institution toward science, technology, engineering, math future, because that truly is the best set of opportunities for all of our young people. So I'm very passionate about it.
And you always have and always continue to look to the future. So when you visualize the future and you see the students who are STEM educated, what do you think that will mean to our community in the long run?
Well, let's pretend it's Tri-Cities 2030, and these young people are creating, United States 3.0, and I see the Tri-Cities quite easily through the will and dedication of people like those in this room, becoming an Austin, a Boston, a Silicon Valley, a Research Triangle. We have the intellectual capital to make that happen. We have the will for it. We have three, huge sectors of economy, all of which need STEM: ag, business, and then Pacific Northwest National Laboratory and the DOE complex. I see the possibilities are fairly limitless for us if we, as a community, just continue to keep our shoulder to the wheel.
Yep. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
If you wouldn't mind passing the mic down. For many of you, this is the first chance we've had an opportunity to meet Ben, and we appreciate him coming. And you are the Executive Director for the Washington State Board of Education. And from that perspective, can you share with us why STEM is so important to the board and what you're working on to expand that statewide?
Sure. Well, it's a major initiative of the board. And I'll talk about two things in particular. The first is that, and the chair of the State Board of Education is here today, and I know she'd say the same thing, that it was not lost on the board that, on the one hand, we were a state that had some of the largest unmet demand in terms of STEM qualified workers in our economy. And on the other hand, we were a state that had some of the lowest course taking requirements in math and science in the entire United States. It was not long ago when Washington State required only 2 credits of math and 2 credits of science to graduate from high school. And it's not all about the number of credits that you take, but that's a big part of it. And so we needed to increase those expectations to a level that we considered career and college ready. And we didn't want to be lagging behind any other states in anything, let alone course-taking preparation in math and science. But beyond that, I think it's been also about rethinking math and science. And the State Board of Education has had to kind of think about what it means to earn a math credit, what it means to earn a science credit, and what STEM means in that context. And I think what we've come to the realization that we need to be a little bit more creative about what we consider STEM, or what we consider a math credit, and what we consider a science credit. So one of the ways in which that practically manifests in our policy is that we're really pushing this idea that classes of career and technical education classes are an excellent venue to deliver math credits and science credits. And we see examples, pockets of excellence throughout the state, but that's what we see, pockets. And we're trying to create a set of policies that create some equity there so that a student's access to math and science through applied learning, through career and technical and vocational classes, is not dependent on a student's zip code, that becomes an issue of equity, and that all students have the opportunity to experience math and science in that way as well.
Well, with these changes and the things you're trying to accomplish, if you could speak to your state lawmakers that fund these things, what's your primary message to them? And
so I have about an hour then, is that right?
You tell him.
Senator Brown, how are you?
I have my time.
Okay, so Sandra's given me her time. So
poor Sharon.
No, I have a lot of thoughts on that. I've spent most of my career in school finance, so I'll struggle to keep it brief here. You know, I think there's an overriding issue about the ampleness of funding in Washington, or the lack thereof, and I think that whether it's STEM related or whether it's meeting the very basic needs of all of our students in Washington State, if we're going to hold high standards for our children, there needs to be reciprocity of those high standards for the adults in our system as well. And I don't feel, and I think the Supreme Court has made it pretty abundantly clear that they don't feel, that we have met our own high standard in terms of the support that we have to provide public schools in Washington State. So that's a global statement. More particular to STEM, I think that we lack a vision for supporting professional development for our educators in Washington. And you know, we are going through such a rapid period of change in our academic standards, and we have funded that at a statewide level on a very thin budget, and it lacks a vision for what the professional development needs of educators are who are going through this transition of implementing new math and science standards over the next few years. And I think we need to be more intentional as a state about that, both in terms of how we fund it and how we plan it as part of the academic calendar as well.
Ben, thank you. And thank you for taking the time to let us all get to know you a little better, and for traveling this far. And
you have a wonderful community. It makes me not want to go home. This beautiful weather, and it's raining in Olympia, so.
It's raining here.
Oh, yeah. And Sandra, for those of you who don't know, she loves our kids and works so tirelessly to help people. And she was nominated by the other superintendents in this area because of all of the people who've worked hard on this project. She's been right there from the get-go. Has it been 6, 10 years? How long have you worked on STEM?
Whatever Mike Clue said. We've been around a long time.
And then if you can share from us from your personal commitment and the time you've spent, how does it look from the inside when you interact with the person? What kind of a difference does it make to your kids?
Well, since we've only had one graduating class out of Delta, what I can share with you is what I've observed in terms of our kids throughout our K-12 system and with 1 year of graduates. And I think we really have to focus on Delta's theme about think differently, because it's not just how we learn science, math, and English and social studies, it's about how they integrate. I think that's been key, because what I've noticed in our students, both at Delta and in our district, is it opens a world to them, not just a STEM world, but their whole world. So when you looked at the video, those are not just unknown students to me. Those were Claudia, Omar, Stevie Jean, Nayeli, and I knew them when they started Delta as freshmen, scared, coming from traditional middle schools, and saw them blossom into amazing citizens able to tackle enormous problems that face us. And I can't wait to see what they will bring to us in the next several years. I also, thank you. And it's not just about what our high schoolers are doing, and many of you know in Pasco we're building STEM elementary schools. And I just want to share with you a couple of student stories, because that's why we're all here. We have a school in our district. It's Robinson Elementary, and it's one of the highest need schools in the state in terms of poverty, disadvantaged students, and English language learners. And I want to tell you a story about their 5th graders. They bring all the challenges that students from disadvantaged backgrounds have, but they're just as bright and eager as anyone. And looking at putting STEM projects together from an integrated standpoint, this is where it really opened the world, and they are able now to collaboratively problem solve big issues. And last fall, the power went out at Robinson. But because they had been working on STEM projects, they were able to create electrical circuits and make light in their classroom. That was a real-world problem to them. At Stevens Middle School, our 8th graders developed a zombie apocalypse where the world, don't you think 8th graders get into that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The world ended, and the Stevens 8th graders were the only ones left surviving. Their task was to create a new world in which they could survive using the climate and conditions right here in Pasco. That was real world to them, thinking differently. How am I doing on time, Dana?
Just fine, just fine.
Well, we only have 17,000 kids in Pasco, and there's a story about each one of them, and then I can get to Kennewick and Richland, but we won't have all that. I'll tell you one last story about a 5th grader at one of our elementaries. He was an autistic child who's been with us since kindergarten, and he didn't speak. He didn't speak to his friends, and he didn't speak to his teachers. Last fall, the 5th grade team at this school did an integrated STEM project on biomes. Part of the expectation was for the students to get up and share their learning and their project with their classmates. So as we do in education, we make accommodations for children with disability. This young man got up, spoke for the first time in his classroom because he had been so involved in the connected learning of his STEM project. The teacher videoed it, because we all have iPhones now, and shared it with his principal, who emailed it to his mother, and they sat there and watched it on their computers, one in the school office and one at home, and both bawled their eyes out. So that might be on the extreme end, but what I know from what I see is thinking differently and looking at Integrated STEM learning makes a real difference in the lives of our kids at every age. And we want our Pasco kids, our Tri-Cities kids, to get those high-paying STEM jobs that are going unfilled now and will in the future.
You really touched on how new this is for everybody, from the students and then from the parents' perspective. If you have a child that's bravely trying this, what recommendations do you have for the parents as far as how they can take these experiences and then integrate it into their child's life while they're supporting them through this?
Well, one of the things we're trying to encourage parents and adults in every child's life is to have real conversations with them. It doesn't have to be about STEM, but make sure you're using complete sentences and not just saying, clean up your room and come to dinner. And to start that kind of oracy pattern. And when kids are able to articulate things, and just looking at the world around them, some people in, like my generation perhaps, may be a little afraid of math or science. But when we engage that it's in the world all around us, it doesn't have to be gravitational wave research at LIGO. But that's certainly an opportunity in our community, and if you haven't been there, you need to. It can be as simple as, honey, how many bananas can I get for $3 when I'm in the grocery store? Or one my grandson loves. He is completely fascinated by every bug and bee he can find. And then he wants to know what they like to eat, how they move. And then he wants to know the different bugs and bees in other parts of the world and why they live there and not here. So our world is filled with opportunities to intrigue students with science. And you know, our kids are curious by nature, and we just need to seize those opportunities every chance we get. And as folks here who are educators and STEM professionals interested in pushing this, we can model this with our own families, our own grandchildren, our own nieces and nephews, and it's all around us.
Thank you, Sandra. And Dave, with the large population that you oversee, you employ, you've always encouraged people to donate their time to volunteer, to get into the schools, to help with Delta and the other schools. And why do you do that for your employees, and what benefit do you think the employer gets from that?
Well, Dana, that's not a surprising question. And I know that Deb is probably cringing because she knows that I will go off script immediately.
That's not allowed. No.
So to answer that question, I'd like to do some audience participation. First, would everyone who has a pen or a pencil in their pocket raise their hand? So you are probably among the STEM literate in the room. You're going to need that pen or pencil for the next part of the answer. Out at the Hanford site, and this is not unusual in our area at all, but I'll speak to what I know, 8,000 to 10,000 employees with an average age of 55 years old. So this is where the math comes in. The math is 55 is the average, right? So we all know that there's as many above as below 55. So let's think about 5,000 employees, half of whom are in the retirement window. So now out of 5,000 employees, I have 2,500 employees who are likely to retire in the next 5 to 7 years. Add that onto the deficit of STEM-educated students coming out of college that we know exists today, and now you'll understand why we are in a crisis, an absolute crisis in the business world of not being able to have the people that we need to come into the pipeline to fill those jobs that are going to be here for the next 5 to 10 years. So that's the first part, and if you'd like to check my math, we can talk about that afterwards. So if that's the reality and those jobs will eventually be filled, where will they be filled from? They'll be filled from people from out of state. So as a businessman, if I have to bring in an employee from out of state over an employee who's local, let's do a little bit more math. Let's talk about $75,000 relocation on top of the salary, which increases the cost of that individual to do the job over the cost of a local individual to do a job. And let's talk about the practical risks of bringing someone in from out of town, and how likely are they to stay here versus someone who grew up here and finds this as their home from day one. So that's another implication for us, that the economics of STEM and our deficit in STEM is a huge problem for us today. And so we're doing whatever we can do, and I know the lab, Mike, faces the same problem. And I believe our agriculture industry and our construction industry that supports the medical and healthcare industries are all facing the same deficit. So it's in our best interest as businessmen to feed that pipeline. It's not enough just to tell the state and our schools, it's your job to provide me with educated students. We have to take the bull by the horns and participate in that, and that's how Delta came about, and that's how I think STEM education in this area is going to develop as an economic necessity for us in the future.
Thank you, Dave. And as a large employer, we know you're committed. What advice would you have for smaller employers, someone new who hasn't tried it? What would you recommend to them?
Well, I would try to find Pat Irving. Where's Pat? Pat runs a smaller business and brings in STEM interns. We actually have a STEM intern at MSA who's doing a great job, but Pat is probably the poster girl for how to bring STEM students out of Delta into her corporation and have them do real valuable work. I would say just talk to Pat Irving if you want to know what these Delta kids can do, because they're performing at a level far above the level that we would have expected a high school student or even a college intern to perform 10 years ago. Absolutely phenomenal.
Well, thank you. And a special round of applause for our panelists for taking their time and sharing this. And we thank you so much for listening as we share something that we are so passionate about. And if my guests will just remain here with me, Tom Yount will come up and have a few closing remarks, and that will conclude our program. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dana, and tonight's panel. Thank you very much. So isn't it gratifying to see what can be accomplished in our community with leadership from companies such as Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, partners in our collaboration for Delta High School, including Columbia Basin College, the 3 superintendents and their school boards from Kennewick, Pasco, and Richland, Washington State University, and the business partners of our foundation, all coming together to build a new school for STEM education. And even more so, it's exciting to think about all the potential in our region for creating a 100% homegrown, STEM-capable workforce for the future. With the construction of Delta High assured and in the highly capable hands of our school superintendents, it is time for Washington State STEM Education Foundation to begin work on expanding our impact for fully delivering our new vision. And our vision is to be a national model for generating passionate support to science, technology, engineering, and math in the public education, every student, every day. To that end, we are currently partnering with Washington STEM to create a Mid-Columbia STEM network, one of the number of networks being developed across the state. The network is designed to support a unified system of STEM education, fostering partnerships, scaling best practices, and increasing impact to all kids. This is an effective strategy and demonstrated track record in other states, including North Carolina and Ohio. So it's clear that educators can't do this alone. And we know this from the model and the demonstration at Delta High School that's relied on bringing community leaders into the school, volunteers such as yourself to help the educators, to have businesses provide internships to the kids, and it's worked. So we know the model can be successful. We must all work together to strengthen and bridge the links of the students, educators, and the community to STEM resources. And we believe there's a capacity in our region to increase this support and engagement many times over. And it's the Foundation's and Mid-Columbia STEM Network's unique role to help facilitate this process. And that is where you all come in. As we've heard tonight, it's going to be critical that our business community, retired STEM professionals, service organizations, and others all become fully engaged in this effort. I encourage you all to contact the Foundation office to learn more about how you can play an important role in STEM education in the Mid-Columbia. And we also want to invite you to our groundbreaking ceremony that's going to be June 25th. And in addition, I want to thank Lori Mattson and the Tri-City Regional Chamber for hosting STEM Education Summit on that same day. And if you have questions about that, there's information in our pamphlet that's on your table. So mark your calendars, June 25th, groundbreaking. We're going to have another celebration. And almost lastly, but second to last, I'm going to conduct a door prize for 4 tickets to the Museum of Flight in Seattle. And to help me with that drawing and share a closing remarks, I'm proud to introduce Delta High student Adriana Mendez. Adriana? How about I let you draw?
All right.
And the winner is Marco Lenius. So you can, Mark, I'll catch up with you after this, and we'll give you your tickets. Adriana?
On behalf of my classmates at Delta High, I want to thank you for everything you've done to make Delta such an amazing and life-changing place to fully explore our potential and to learn. Abraham Lincoln once said, "The best way to predict your future is to create it," and that is exactly what the STEM volunteers do. They provide direction, create opportunity, ignite passion, and most importantly, they allow us to dream. I dream of getting accepted into college, of graduating from med school, and of giving back to my community. My dreams flourished here. My freshman year of high school, I had a lot of trouble adjusting to the Delta High. My mentor, Dan, helped me to think critically and always ask, why? Sophomore year, I met Dr. Drosh, who inspired me to dream bigger and to take life's challenges as they come. This year, I got to tour local medical facilities and see for myself the impact that technology can have on someone's health. My question to you is, what dreams could you inspire? What future inventions and discoveries could be made by volunteering your time to a student? In closing, I'd like to invite you to schedule a tour of our campus and also to join us at the Delta High graduation ceremony, Saturday, June 7th, 3 o'clock p.m. at the Toyota Center in Kennewick. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriana. Isn't it amazing? Every time you have an opportunity to go into Delta High School, we always have one of the students lead us on a tour, and how heartfelt it is to listen to what they're going through, what they're learning, and how much enjoyment and satisfaction they get out of the experience. So thank you for that. In closing, I'd like to give a special thanks to Energy Solutions, Innovatech, Pacific Northwest National Lab, CH2M Hill, Mission Support Alliance, Lockheed, and of course Country Gentlemen for the fabulous food, and for those of you that haven't passed your dessert tray around, now would be the time to do that. Also, Washington STEM for visiting with us tonight. Columbia Basin College, Rich, again, amazing, for sponsoring tonight's dinner. And thank you for attending. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and please drive safely.